Welcome, everybody. I'm Dugan Fraser. I'm the Program Manager at the Global Evaluation Initiative. Today, I'm talking to Karen Rott, who is the Acting Evaluator General at Independent Development Evaluation at the African Development Bank. Welcome, Karen. It's very nice to see you.
Hi, Dugan.
What are some of the highlights of the work that AfDB has been involved in over the last few years in evaluation capacity development?
I'd like to highlight two points. So one of our success stories, I think, is setting up the African Parliamentarians Network on Development Evaluation. In 2014, we brought together 25 members of parliament from 7 African countries on the margins of the African Evaluation Association Conference in Cameroon. And these parliamentarians recognized the important function of evaluation in national decision-making and the crucial role of parliamentarians in ensuring that evaluation evidence is used for strengthening oversight and governance. And so they decided to establish a network. Now, 7 years later, this network has reached 29 countries. There are 7 national chapters. More than 500 MPs have been sensitized to the value that evaluation can have for them, and 4 countries have evaluation embedded in their constitution. So that's quite a step forward. Another success story, I think, on the government side is Twende Mbele, which means going forward together in Swahili. And this is an initiative in which we are a technical partner. So it started with the governments of 3 African countries realizing that they were further advanced than most in developing their national M&E system, and that there were things they could learn from each other. So they established a peer learning partnership in which countries collaborate voluntarily on topics that are of mutual interest to them. It has now grown to 6 countries. And for me, its strength is that it is really country-driven and country-owned, a true partnership of peers that is frankly rare in the development space.
Those are 2 such great examples. Both AppNode and Twende Mbele are initiatives that I think are just real examples of how we should be seeing evaluation capacity being built. What do you think are some of the big challenges that we face in building evaluation capacity?
One challenge is funding. A lot of work done in the ECD space, particularly in the area of VOPEs, Voluntary Organizations for Professional Evaluation, and civil society, is done by volunteers, people who have a day job and who contribute to furthering the cause of evaluation in their spare time. It's also been difficult for networks like AppNode and Twende Mbele to find external funding to cover their basic costs, like having a secretariat and for the activities that they want to pursue. A particular challenge with parliamentarians is turnover. At every election, some MPs lose their seat or they decide not to stand again, and then they tend to disengage from the network. So to keep the network going, you constantly have to sensitize and motivate new MPs.
Yeah, and I think that's a common problem for people working in capacity development. And I think it means that it's something we have to understand to be an ongoing aspect of strengthening institutions, because people do other things after a while. What are some of the evaluation capacity initiatives that we're seeing across the globe that you're excited about?
What I find interesting is that different players in the evaluation space are starting to find each other. When I started at IDEV 7 years ago, the world of evaluation was quite compartmentalized. You had the evaluation offices of the bilateral aid donors gathered in the OECD DAC evaluation network. You had the evaluation offices of international financial institutions gathered in the evaluation cooperation group, the evaluation offices of UN agencies in the UN evaluation group, the VOPEs gathered in regional bodies like AFRIA and internationally in the IOCE, and you had academics and other researchers. And all these groups were mainly talking within themselves and not so much to each other. Then you started to see some collaboration. between the UN evaluators and the VOPs in the form of eval partners. And you saw contacts between the UN and academics and researchers. But it's only more recently that you see the OECD DAC evalnet engaging with academics from the Global South, for example, or African government evaluators engaging with their national VOPI. So I think such contacts can lead to cross-fertilization, to learning from each other, and to collaboration for greater effectiveness.
Let's talk about the Global Evaluation Initiative for a moment. We're so delighted that the African Development Bank is a partner, and we're very interested in this question of reducing fragmentation and making sure that the business of building evaluation capacity is done in a more harmonized way. Are there thoughts on your side as to how that could be properly done?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the Global Evaluation Initiative is certainly very welcome. I think it's important for the GEI to be a convener rather than an additional ECD initiative. So it should really try to bring together all the players who are already in a certain space and help them to coordinate and find synergies rather than adding another agenda on top of what is already being done. Because there is a lot already happening at local and at national and at regional level, even if it may not always be very visible. Secondly, I think that the GEI should focus on identifying and bringing together all the players in a given space, rather than talking to different groups separately. So rather than discussing with UN agencies or VOPs or governments separately, bring them together into the same virtual room to discuss on particular topics or themes, encourage them to share what they are doing, what they want to learn from others, and what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think that idea of being a convener and a facilitator of collaboration is very much at the top of our agenda. Are there some things you think that we can achieve together that would be hard to do on our own?
I think achieving together things like synergies, greater efficiency in the use of resources, greater impact from the resources we have. I also think that because the GEI has a global reach, it can see opportunities and pitfalls that people or entities at the local, national, and regional level cannot. Perhaps in your engagement in Asia or Latin America, you see a development that you think may be beneficial for actors in Africa to know about. Or you see an entity about to embark on an action or a strategy that has not worked elsewhere. Then you have the possibility to make that connection, to introduce and link people to each other so that they can share and learn for mutual benefit.
That's a great vision for the GEI, and I hope we can deliver on that. Just to finish up, and it's been a great conversation with you. When you think about the GEI, what would success look like for you? So I'm going to ask you to finish this sentence. The GEI will be successful if it?
The GEI will be successful if no ECD initiative is left behind. If we get the maximum out of all the work that is already being done around the globe, if we learn from each other and achieve synergies and complementarity and scale up successes for greater impact.
Wow, that was perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody. This was Karen Rott from the African Development Bank, another speaker in our Stronger Together series. Thank you for joining us, Karen. That was fantastic.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.